very good afternoon to PPD officers, teachers and the members of the floor. I'm Jessy N from SMK Sultan Ahmad Tajuddin, and I have been teaching only for 2 years, probably the youngest here in the hall today. And today I'm very pleased to share with all of you about School Support Plan. Okay, this School Support Plan is a program that I've attended with my colleague 4 months ago, where we aim to identify students' gaps, which what we call students' errors, specifically in writing. I'm teaching Form 4 and Form 5, so my students were Form 5 students. This brings to my objective, which is to identify the top 3 gaps in writing, and therefore my aim would definitely to reduce the number of gaps. Gaps again meaning errors. We can never fully abolish errors because students, when they write the examination, they are under great pressure and stress. So we are here to reduce the gaps. Okay, this is entirely a data-driven approach where it is also systematic, and we collect or we number the number of errors, we count the number of errors, and then project them into Excel, and then you tabulate the data. Alright, then what happens is, me being the teacher, I would identify 3 intervention strategies, and it's a continuous cycle because I would carry out the intervention strategies until students are able to rectify their errors. And a post-test is conducted, and again data is being tabulated to compare and contrast the number of errors being done before and after. Alright, in my case study, the population is only 16 students because my first class in Form 5 only are composed only of 16 students, and their level of proficiency is intermediate and below. So this was the pre-test. The question was, describe a memorable event in your life. As you can see, students have a lot of errors, and those errors are gaps. So what I did was, of course, they constructed subject-verb agreement, tenses, preposition, conjunction, linkers, but then when I calculated, I numbered, there were only 3 top errors, which is subject-verb agreement, tenses, and idea development. And my students, there are only 2 kinds: the students who write a lot and make a lot of errors, and students who write little and make a lot of errors as well. So errors are there all the time. So this was the data tabulated, and if you can see, I have only 5 students here because I do not want to lengthen my PPT slides. And if you can see, for quantitative data, definitely I can count the number of subject-verb agreement, tenses, error. But for developing ideas, I cannot count. It's merely perception. And when you read, you will definitely know whether the idea is being developed or not. And for today, I'm going to talk about how I intervented a strategy called spider leg. Actually, it's not my idea entirely. It's from Pin Interest, where I taught my students how to develop ideas using spider leg. The name of it is spider leg, nothing much. Alright, so what I did was, I taught the students, basically it's not teaching the students of WH questions because students know what are WH questions. The who, why, when, what, where and how. So you remind them of these WH questions, and you practice at a sentence level first, where I give students kernel sentences, meaning simple sentences. For example, they study a simple sentence consisting of 2 words. And then students are trained to ask themselves, who? Students, when you have the word they study, if you ask the question, who, you can identify with many other nouns. Students, lecturers, teachers, friends. Then you ask the question, when? Why and how. And of course, when you ask the right questions, you will develop the right answers. And once students practice this, they practice writing the sentence, the expanded sentence for they study. So students change the sentence from they study to before test, students study hard because they want good grades. So I think I've done this for 2 weeks where students only train themselves asking questions and they expand short sentences into long sentences. Right after then, I move on to paragraph level. This time around, students do not construct sentence anymore. What students do is students ask questions. And the spider leg technique comes in. For instance, students are given this paragraph and students ask questions for each sentences. For instance, if the sentence says that students study hard before exam, students study at the 11th hour before exam. So the question would be, when do students study? So for each paragraph, students ask themselves questions based on the paragraph given. So students are not going to come up with any ideas. They are trained to just ask questions, ask only questions. And for each question, they stick a sticky note at the side. So it becomes like a spider leg, the shape of a spider. That's why the name was spider legs, as simple as that. So this was very effective because when students do not need to produce anything, any sentence, it makes their life easier. So for another 1 week, I've been giving them paragraphs alone, and they are grouped in pairs, and they just ask questions. And right after that, for this, students are given paragraphs. After thorough practice of asking questions, students are given only one sentence after that. And then they start asking questions. For example, if you see there's only one sentence there, long holidays are not beneficial as it wastes students' time. And students come up with questions. They do not construct any sentences, but they only ask questions. When they do ask questions and then they answer, this is what being produced. And then post-test was conducted, and surprisingly, longer paragraphs with lesser errors are being identified. Lesser errors because I've identified 3 top errors, and I've also done practice with them for subject-verb agreement and tenses. So I'm not going to talk about that. I'm talking only about developing ideas. So once it's done, you get a clearer paragraph and really long ones, really in detail, just because they ask the right questions, just because they ask questions before writing. Minimal errors with longer paragraphs. If you compare previously, shorter paragraphs, really short ones, because they do not know what to write. In fact, they know what to write if they ask the right questions. Yes, these are some pictures where students paste with their partners, the sticky legs, asking questions. With that, I thank you.